Hey Sewers, I'm Tony. Today on Sew Lounge, I'm going to be doing a pattern review of Simplicity 8133. It's an easy to sew wrap skirt that's also perfect for beginners. I'm going to talk with you about my thoughts on the pattern, my fabric choices, and I'm going to give you some pointers on what to look out for so you can sew it better. At the end, I'm going to model the skirts for you so you can see how they hang and move on the body. So stay tuned. I'm on the simplicity.com website and I have put in my pattern number, which is 8133. So if you're interested in getting this pattern, it is currently available on the Simplicity website for $12.57. If you hold out for a Joann's sale, you may be able to pick this up for as little as $1.99, which is probably what I did because that's when I buy most of my patterns. Now, this is a learn to sew pattern, which means it's great if you're just learning and starting, or if you need a refresher because you haven't sewn for quite a while. It's very easy to follow along in the instructions, but we will get to that a little bit later. Right now, I just wanted to go into the particulars about the different options for design. There are basically 4 different design options here. B and C are the same length. The difference is that C has the contrasting pocket, waistband, and waist ties. So there is a different cutting layout for that since you're going to be cutting those in a different fabric, but they're basically the same length once they're finished. Now, this is, I would say this skirt looks a little bit shorter on her. She may be kind of tall, but it's supposed to be worn an inch below the waist. This looks like it's at her natural waist. And so when I wear this skirt, I wear it a little bit lower on, a little bit above my hips, and then my skirt is actually a little bit closer to right above my knee. You can adjust the hem if you want, so something to keep in mind. D is going to be the mini version of this. So it's a mini wrap skirt. I don't recommend that for a wrap skirt, but it's up to you. And then A is the full length version, which you can attach trim to the bottom of. I chose not to do that. So when you go in and look at the back of the pattern, you can see that it has all the details that you need for body measurements so that you cut out the right size, the different skirt variations, and how much fabric each of them require if you're using 45-inch or 60-inch, the interfacing and trim that you need for each version, and then it has all of the finished garment measurements with design and wearing ease. This is a pretty true to size kind of wrap skirt pattern. There isn't a lot of ease in it. It's comfortable to wear. It is kind of an A-line wrap, so it's not fitted, but it does sit nicely around your waist and hips. And it's a little bit fitted. Once again, that can be adjusted because you are using you're tying it and then putting the snap wherever you want to hold the flap in place. One thing to look at are the fabrics that are recommended. So a variety of kind of lightweight plain weave type fabrics. So batiks, calico, challis, chambray, cotton type fabrics, lightweight denim, gingham, linen, madras, piqué, poplin, and sateen. If you're using plaids or stripes or any kind of a one-way design, you need to get extra fabric so you can match everything and cut it out in the same direction. I'm super excited to share this pattern with you because I've made this skirt not 1, not 2, but 3 times. And it is a really great pattern. It sews up quickly and it's not super complicated as an added bonus. Now, I love a wrap skirt in the summer. It is comfortable and cool. It lets the air circulate around your body. Plus, it's very forgiving. If you happen to gain a little bit of weight, you can just move over that snap or add another one and adjust the ties accordingly. My sewing journey started when I found this beautiful Japanese border print fabric, and I just knew it would make a gorgeous wrap skirt. It's 100% cotton. It is very lightweight, but it has a very nice hand to it. So it has a little bit of stiffness, but not too much. And it is going to obviously breathe because it's made out of cotton. Now, when I bought my border print fabric, I did not have a specific wrap skirt pattern in mind, but I knew that I wanted something that was going to be a classic silhouette that would last for years to come. And Simplicity 8133 fits that description perfectly. It is a very classic wrap skirt. It just has an even hem across the bottom. It has the standard flap. This one I modified the waistband, so it's not exactly the pattern because there's a buttonhole and I made the ties longer so it would tie that way. But the other versions that I made are very standard. They have the snap closure on the inside for the flap, and then they tie all according to the instructions. Now, earlier when we looked at the back of the pattern envelope for the suggested fabrics to make this skirt, one of the suggestions was cotton types fabric. And basically what that means is you can use quilting cottons or novelty cottons or any of the generic cotton labeled fabrics from your local store to make this skirt. And I actually did that when I made it the second and third time. So this is actually quilting cotton. It is a Free Spirit, which is also a Japanese company incidentally, but it is a Kaffe & Co. print. It is Dahlias, I believe, and then this is also Kaffe. So if you are near a fabric store or a quilting store and you like the options, you can definitely use that to make this skirt. When I made the third version, this is just some novelty cotton. It is in the quilting section at Joann's, and same for the waistband, ties, and pocket. So it's just an easy 100% cotton fabric. It is a plain weave. It is totally fine for this if you do not find an apparel fabric that you'd like, or if you just want something that's inexpensive and okay if you mess up, but you won't because this pattern's pretty easy to sew. When you look at the pattern instructions, there is a lot of detail on how to get started sewing, lists of the tools you need, fabric prep, layout, vocabulary terminology, and all sorts of things that you need to know if you don't already know, because this is a learn to sew pattern. So Simplicity does a really great job going into the details of telling you more about the pattern itself, telling you how to find your pattern size, how to prep your pattern, how to mark it with the notches, and then transfer the dot markings to your actual individual pattern pieces, and how to prep your fabric. So if you're rusty on those things, it's a great pattern. If you are brand new to sewing and just starting out, it is a great pattern. And if you don't need any of that additional information, you can just skip over it, which is what I did. Next, you have the different layouts of the pattern pieces. So depending on which view you're making, once again, B and C are the exact same. The only difference is that you cut the waistband, ties, and pocket, if you're making the pocket, on a separate fabric, so there's a separate layout for that. Once you actually get to the pattern instructions, they are very, very straightforward. And if you want to sew this pattern, I have made an entire series of videos with various parts of the 3 versions of this skirt so that you can follow along and get every single pattern instruction step by step, and I walk you through all of the details. But if you're just interested in an overview, I'm going to point out a couple of things in the pattern that you should keep an eye out for so that you're prepared when you get to that point. So the pattern is fairly straightforward and easy to follow along up until the time you get to instruction number 9. Now this is where we are going to be attaching the interfacing to the waistband pieces. And one thing to keep in mind is that if you follow this layout and lay your pieces out so they are wrong side up, and then attach your interfacing with the little dotted side against the wrong side of the fabric, you will never make a mistake, and you will always iron the correct pieces of interfacing to your waistband pieces. I did screw this up the first time I made it, and I had to go recut everything. So it's just a really good policy to just lay everything out just like the drawing, attach it, and then pin it, and then go to the sewing machine to get everything pressed into place. Moving on to step number 10, that is prepping the ties. And the instructions indicate that you should leave one end open and then do a stitch line all the way through, pivot at the end to finish that end of the tie. Now, the first time I did that, it took forever. I could not turn the tube right side out. Even after I trimmed the seams and done everything they said, it's just very, very hard to keep that tie still looking nice. So what I did differently was I did not sew this section of the tie. I just finished it out here at the bottom, backstitched, and then turned the tube, which is much easier to do. And then I just pressed 1/8 of an inch at the very, very end, folded that to the inside, and then top stitched so that I had a nice finished tie with a nice crisp corner. You could do it however you want, but that speeds up the process and it's a little bit easier. When you get to step number 12, this is pattern piece number 5 that you are attaching the tie to hold that in place. I don't know why it just says left front waistband and they don't just put the number on it. That makes it a lot easier. I did accidentally sew this to piece number 4, which is exactly the same as 5, just in reverse. So just make sure you attach it to the right one and that it is flush with the basting line that you mark and the 2 dots. So make sure that you get all your marks in the right place to successfully be able to complete that step. When it comes to transferring the marks from your pattern pieces to your fabric, it is very important that you get all those marks transferred with this pattern. There are a lot of pieces to line up with the ties and the waistband points and then the side front. And it's a lot of things you have to get all in the right place, and you have to have those marks visible in order to do that well. The first time I made this pattern, I used chalk pencil, which did not work great, but it was okay. When I made the skirt in this Dahlia print, I accidentally used my heat erasable marking pens and all my marks disappeared as soon as I started pressing my waistband. So I would recommend using these water erasable fabric marking pens. These work just as well as the heat erasable, but they will stay there if you go to the iron to press any part of your garment. And they come in a variety of colors, so they are great for any fabric. And that's what I've started using, which works very, very well. Now, it's not ideal for every fabric. If your fabric is not washable, do not use these, but it's a good alternative if you are just using cotton and you're making something that you are definitely going to throw into the wash. I will leave a link in the description below. Some final thoughts on using this pattern and why I like it is because it's very versatile. So you can make the long version, you can make short versions, you can make a really short mini version if you want. You can do it all in a solid or add a different fabric for the waistband for a little bit different. There's a pocket option if you are a pocket person and you like pockets. So there's a lot of versatility in a wrap skirt, and you could remake this multiple times and give it completely different looks every time you make it. So that is an A+ in my book. Now, if you want to make this, I will put a link to the playlist in the description below so you can check that out. And let's head over to the fashion show. There's another great video coming up next. You're definitely going to want to watch this one.